It's now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I will turn it over to Nancy, our clerk.
Good evening. Are there any motions for chairman for 2024? Nominations.
Where are you?
Nominations for chairman?
I nominate John for chairman.
Okay. There's a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other? No? Hearing none? John is chairman for 2024.
Thank you.
No.
Do we have to vote, do we have to vote that, or no?
Yeah.
Everybody
No.
Okay,
voted.
alright.
Now what about the
You
vice
have to
chair?
vote vice
I'll
chair.
do the vice chair.
Vice chair, John, take it.
Looking for a motion to vote for a vice chair.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Jeannie Meredith for vice chair.
I'll second that motion. Do it, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Welcome back, Jeannie.
Welcome back yourself.
Has the board had a time to review the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes.
We good?
And a second to go through them, Rich?
I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Chairman's update. Don't have much on the agenda. I've been speaking with Nancy, and I'm gonna try to make some changes on the way that the plans are being submitted. So, in speaking to a lot of other towns, what they do is they take the submissions, because we normally, I don't see it on, yeah, it actually is here, it's number 5. Subdivision submissions, site plan submissions, that if they want to submit them, they have to bring them to the meeting, and they'll get stamped in here at the meeting. This way, everyone can get them. It gives Larry time, he's here, he can take them from here. It gives him the 14 days, everyone can take and go through it. It gives us a little bit more time than what's happening. And it's, I'll check with town council, but I believe it is totally legal to do it that way. It hasn't been done that way here, but in a lot of other towns, that's the way it is. So Nancy would bring her stamp, they would submit them here, and they would get stamped in and hand out to the board members at that time.
Is that in our operating procedures
It's,
currently?
doesn't state, the language is upside down inside our operating procedures. So it does state that, and that's why it is number 5 on the list here tonight. Subdivision submissions, site plan submissions. So when you look for a ruling on that, that's the way it is in a lot of towns, Winthrop, a few of the other towns. That the applicant has to bring it to a board meeting in order to submit it. So they can't get dropped off at town hall, and if Nancy's gone home for the day, or then they sit there, then we don't get a notice for 2 days, and Larry don't get the plans. This way, everyone will have the same amount of time to review the plans going forward.
So would you like that in the form of a motion and then to have it inserted into our operating procedures?
I just gotta check with town council,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
we may have to have a meeting on that, and may have to go back in to be clarified as a warrant, to
Okay.
change the operating procedures. It doesn't state now
Might
what
have to
it
have a
is.
public hearing, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So, it's just something that, I know the applicants won't like it, but it will take a lot of the confusion that's going on with the board and not getting plans and getting
It might
plans.
be easier for the applicant too.
For those that
I mean,
live here, I mean,
It saves them time too, because sometimes when the applicant comes, if
Nancy's not there.
certain people say they didn't get it and they didn't have time, and then we ask them to
you're
continue
getting
it.
plans in the town office, we're getting plans from the clerk's office. Sometimes people tell me they leave them at Chris Riley's office.
Yeah,
He's gone for the day, so we don't get them. So I think it's a step forward in the right direction. We'll check with
okay,
John, so.
sounds like a good idea.
Okay. So this is a public meeting. We have up next consulting engineers report. Larry, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Nothing since the report I submitted and, you know, that we'll get into when you open the public hearing.
Okay. Nancy, do we have any new submissions?
We do not.
We do not. Things are really
I
quick.
commend your suggestions.
There's no time in this, so we can go right into it.
Right.
So. The next on the agenda will be a public hearing for Boulder Road definitive subdivision permit. Anyone that would like to speak during this, will please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Rick Salvo with Engineering Alliance. I'm here this evening with the applicant, Christina Theophanis, and her husband Cliff. Also their attorney, Jonathan Silverstein's here as well. I think we were here just before Christmas last. Thought we had a good meeting. We had some issues to work out with engineering. Had a couple of really good meetings with Mr. Durkin. He was very generous with his time to take the time to go over certain aspects of this plan, you know, just so we could, you know, try to work together and make it better for the community, better for the applicant, better for everybody. So just to run through the red line changes that were made to the plan. There was some discussion last time how there's a chance there could be some blasting required as part of the utilities installation. The way the plan for the roadway and the house is laid out right now, we don't anticipate any blasting, you know, for the grading of the road and that sort of thing, but when we excavate down for some of the utilities, that we could encounter some rock. In the event that we do that, the note that we had crafted, and we're happy to change it around, rather than just having it in condition, it'll be actually on the plan. We put a note on here that requires the applicant to go through the normal procedure through the fire department, but also notify all the abutters within 250 feet of the site that there would be blasting potential, and obviously offer that same group a pre-blast survey, which is required by the regulations anyways. There was also a discussion with the engineering department. A lot of cities and towns, even though it's not in the town of Saugus subdivision rules and regulations right now, a lot of cities and towns are requiring surveys to be on Mass State Plane and NAVD 88 datum. The reason for that is they can take the CAD files for as-built and that sort of thing and drop it right into their GIS, because the GIS is based on that coordinate system. This survey was not done on that, but the conclusion that we had come to was to put a note on the plan requiring when the as-built gets done, the as-bilt's got to be done on state plane coordinates. It is already on the NAVD 88 datum, and that's the information really that the town wants to have in that format, is the as-built information. They don't really so much need the proposed information in that format. We also added some coordinates to the lot corners and to the control points, so that way there anyone could correlate from the control points to the lot corners. We also added some survey notes over there that identified the same. Relative to plan changes, they were relatively minor in nature. We put a low point in the driveway here that would cause the stormwater runoff to run off in this direction rather than being tributary to the roadway. We also took the overflow. You might recall this used to head down the Boulder Road right of way. We're actually directing it onto our own property, so it'll run across our own property. That overflow, based on our calculations, only sees flow in the 100-year storm, and it's less than 1 CFS. It's a very minimal amount that actually comes out of there. And then there were some minor notes relative to specific types of gate valves and which way they open and what types to use, that sort of thing that we added to the construction details. So those were the changes that were made to the plans. You might have seen there was some late correspondence last week where Larry made a good point where our original design had this tributary watershed area that comes out onto the roadway included in the roadway design to take this water and push it to the design point, which is where it's going now, and update the drainage calculations. Even though it's a small area, it was just to make sure that the drainage calculations exactly match the plans. We went ahead and did that.
So the water that you're now diverting back onto the property itself
Correct.
will stay on their property, or will it go off the backside of the property?
Eventually, it'll go off the backside of the property, and that's how we modeled it.
Okay.
So there's a
Do we know who's on the backside of the property?
Yeah, New England Power.
Okay.
When it goes into the back side of the property, then where does it go? It's not gonna go back this way to the
No,
next
it keeps
house,
on
just in the back.
flowing in this direction. There's a whole bunch of vacant land back there that's owned by New England Power.
A lot of good blueberries back there.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. Sure there. And
Oh,
so it
used
looks
to
like
be,
this-
not anymore?
So we did also go ahead and prepare a summary for everyone. Summarized, I think the design point that was of interest to most people, especially the abutters, was the design point that heads down Boulder Road down towards King Street. And because of this infiltration system that we've installed down the bottom of the plan here, in the 2-year storm, and these storm volumes were all calculated using the latest NOAA Atlas 14, which are much larger rain events than the data that we used to use, 3 or 4 years ago. So a 2-year storm is 3.29 inches of rain that has to fall in 24 hours. There's a 52% reduction in the amount of storm water that'll be realized down the bottom of that hill. In the 10-year storm, there's which is 5.18 inches of rain in 24 hours. There's a 95% reduction. In the 25-year storm, which is 6.36 inches of rain in 24 hours, there's a 94% reduction. And in the 100-year storm, which is 8.17 inches of rain in 24 hours, is a 38% reduction. Now, that's not the overall reduction, right? That doesn't include the water that comes from other sources down there. That's just what is generated by this particular development. So if you compare the amount of water that's generated from this stretch of road and this lot today to after it's built with those stormwater controls put in place, the reduction is based on that particular amount of water that's headed to that design point.
Saying that, Mr. Silva, maybe I'm jumping the gun a little early. These have to be maintained
Correct.
twice a year. So there'll have to be a condition that has to get put on it that is gonna be up to the owners of 54 Boulder Road to oversee. The town, I don't believe, will pick that up.
No, nope, the town will not pick that up, and we've included an operation and maintenance plan in the drainage report that Larry and I have both gone through together, and that language is in there. What I recommend, what the Conservation Commission oftentimes does, is they'll take that operation and maintenance plan and actually attach it to the conditions of approval.
Okay.
And we'd be happy to pull it out for you if you wanted to do that.
That's,
Or you
the
could just
Appendix
write a
C.
condition, but sometimes it's
Appendix
nice to attach the whole document so it doesn't get lost.
Yeah, I read that in Larry's report.
Now, you have in here property berm. We discussed that?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So we did talk about that at the last meeting. So on the southern side of the road, this will all be granite curbing on this side. And this is the side that everyone was concerned about the water being able to jump, that flows off the edge of the road today and heads down towards the neighbors down below.
So how
This way
many
it-
feet will that
it keeps
curb
it
be? The granite
About
curb?
248 feet.
200 feet, okay. So it'll be that whole length of
Be
that?
then whole length, and then we transition to a Cape Cod berm on the north side of the road, or the high side of the road,
Cape Cod berm,
which you might recall was
the-
the discussion that we had had.
yeah. What is the Cape Cod berm again, if you could just
So the Cape Cod berm, actually, I can show you details. It's an asphalt berm.
so what's there now?
Yeah, that's what's there now, most of the area. This is what it looks like, it looks kinda like a long loaf.
Yep,
You see it all the time.
yeah.
sidewalk.
We actually the town just replaced the, piece of that because I think I mentioned it at
Yeah,
the
a
last
plow had hit
meeting.
it or something.
A plow had hit it and then that water was diverting down to the houses below, so.
Yeah, so this way here,
That's
the
why I
berm
thought
is on the
granite
high
curb
side
would
of the
be good.
road, so we don't have to worry, the granite curbing will be on the low
Low
side of the
side.
road, so it'll be there forever, and hopefully serve to protect the neighbors down below.
That's great. And I seen on here a guardrail.
Yes, there's a guardrail, there's a guardrail through part of it now, we're actually extending it down, there's some of that end of that guardrail is pretty mangled, so we extended it
continue
down
that.
a little bit to replace a little bit of that.
Thank you. A hydrant? Did I see you putting a hydrant in?
Yep, there's a hydrant, which is pretty traditional, when you have a dead end, you need a way to be able to flush that water out, so there's a hydrant at the end of the road. We did review the hydrant location with the fire department, when we went through the whole turnaround and all that sort of thing.
So has the turnaround been approved?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, the fire department, I believe, had sent that correspondence, at the last meeting.
Nancy, do you have that correspondence for us?
I know I was CC'd on it, and I can be happy to forward
I
it,
remember seeing that.
but
at the last
it went
meeting.
to the board, it wasn't to me.
I know you were putting a 2-inch sprinkler system in there.
And we're putting a 2-inch sprinkler system in, correct?
I knew that, and I didn't know about the turnaround. That was the question we had.
Yep.
Was the hydrant required, or was that just something that they wanted to put in?
No, it's more of a DPW issue. In this case, although the fire department, you're supposed to have a hydrant within 100 feet of a fire department connection when you have a sprinkled building. So it kind of came from both, but it's been on the plan since day one, just because we knew it was a dead-end main, and there has to be some way to be able to flush that main out. By the time you put, some kind of a standpipe device, you don't really save much money, you might as well just put a hydrant.
Do it right. Makes sense.
Looking back, maybe again premature, our rules and regulations on subdivision call for the road to extend to the length of the property.
I think what the rules and regulations say is the right-of-way has to extend, so you can't like preclude someone else's right to be able to access their property. But this is an existing right-of-way, so just like it ended back here, when it was extended for this house, it was extended up to this point right here.
Yeah.
So we're just building out a part of an existing right-of-way.
But doesn't it state that the road shall be prepared to the end of the property?
There's no such requirement to my knowledge.
Pretty sure it does, but we'll check that. We had the same issue with another, just recently.
I know I remember it coming up a long time ago, when I think it was on Birch Brook Road, where, and what the problem was, it wasn't that the subdivision rules and regulations required it, but it put the building department in sort of a predicament, because what happened was, if you imagine it was this guy, what he did is at the end of the road is he put in a basketball hoop, like an NBA professional basketball hoop that was all cemented into the ground and had irrigation out there, and was kind of using it as his yard. And then when the next guy came along to develop it, it became a real problem for them, because they had to get all that stuff out of there. I remember the building commissioner at the time saying that he wished that there was a rule that said you had to go to the end of your property, but there is no such rule. In this case here, this road's never gonna be extended. There's all
Conservation. on both
conservation
sides.
land, it's all Article 97, would take an act of the legislature to be able to get it to be
So this is-
developable.
This is the last buildable lot out
Yeah.
up there.
Plus, you don't have to go too far before it gets physically not possible to be able to build a road, just because the terrain changes so much.
So I refer to Mr. Durkin. On the question I asked Mr. Salvo about extending the road to the end of the property, is that anything that you've discussed with DPW director?
I haven't discussed with him that specific item.
Okay. So we'll need clarification on that.
May I speak, Mr. Chair?
Excuse me?
May I speak?
Are you through, Mr. Salvo, or
Yeah, I think so.
I'm the applicant's counsel. I'm Jonathan Silverstein.
And would you state your address, sir?
Of course, it's 9 Damon Mill Square, Concord. So there is a provision regarding utilities in your subdivision rules and regulations that says where adjacent property is not subdivided, or where all of the property of the applicant is not being subdivided at the same time, provision shall be made for the extension of the utility systems by continuing the mains the full length of streets. At such grade and size that will, in the opinion of the board, permit their proper extension at a later date. So, this property can't be further subdivided.
His can't, but we don't know if anything beyond it can.
Right, and
We're
so.
taking the word of their
Understood. So I guess I would make a few points. First of all, technically, this is an application for road extension. It's not actually a subdivision.
engineer. We didn't
but-
file the application.
No,
The
understood.
application was filed as a subdivision application.
Understood. I'm just trying to make a legal
No,
point.
I got you, I'm listening. But I'm
And
just-
so, we filed it as a subdivision because a lot of municipalities do have separate applications for what are called road extension plans under section 81FF of the subdivision control law. Saugus does not. So there was no other vehicle to get this in front of the
Okay.
board than filing it as a subdivision plan. But it's not a subdivision, which by definition is the creation of 2 or more lots.
That's correct.
And so, since what the case law says is, the board is entitled to impose reasonable requirements consistent with the subdivision rules and regulations to provide for development of the lot under section 81FF. So unlike subdivision control, which this rule does address potential further subdivision, 81FF does not. All you're called upon to do under 81FF is make sure that the roadway and utilities are adequate to serve this lot, the development of a single-family house on this lot.
So
And
that is your interpretation of that.
it is, and it's
Okay,
what
so
the.
everyone has a different interpretation of how it's to be handled. Not an argument. I'm taking
I
it
understand.
on.
I'm just telling you what the Supreme Judicial Court of the Commonwealth of
I'm
Massachusetts
not
has
a lawyer,
said.
so.
And, you know, for what it's worth, I saw Jesse on another application in another municipality the other night, and he has not disagreed with, he's seen my letter, which I know the board forwarded to him, and he said he agreed with everything in it. So, for what it's worth, and I don't think he's advised the board otherwise. That being said, even this rule and regulation doesn't say that the road has to be extended for the full length. It just says provision shall be made for the extension if someday it is. Now here, the right-of-way is there. Anyone could extend those utilities if, and just as we are, if and when they wanted to further subdivide further land. So this rule and regulation is being complied with because provision is being made for it. There's nothing about the design of this plan, Rick can correct me if I'm wrong, that would preclude
But is the
extension of those
language that you
utilities.
just read us state to the end of the lot?
Provision shall be made,
Till the end of the lot.
meaning there's nothing, provision doesn't mean actually building it. It means
Provisions.
you're not doing anything to stop it from being extended.
Okay. We'll get a ruling from council. I'm sure they won't have a problem with that, I'm just asking the question, putting it out there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I think on a side note, like I get the legal stuff and all that sort of thing, but, you know, from a practical standpoint, to add all this pavement in here, you know, and Golden Hills is a pretty environmentally sensitive area. We, you know, ideally, we would love to be able to just build a 12-foot wide driveway from the end of this road up to this lot and disturb almost nothing. But I get it, public safety, trash pickup, mail, everything, fire department access, you know, comes into play, which is why it needs to be built out as a road. But, you know, I think that it would be a mistake to add all this pavement in here for no real benefit. But that's my opinion, you know, I'll leave it to you if you wish.
Mr. Jurgen?
I have a map here, it's not on a grade scale, but it does confirm that 54 Boulder Road, you know, to the east of it is New England Power Company. Nothing's gonna happen there. Immediately to the south is Saugus Conservation Commission. Across the right of way is Saugus Conservation Commission. another property to the south, directly to the south is Saugus Conservation Commission, and there is, on the other side of the right-of-way, below the Saugus Conservation Commission land is a town lot that was taken by tax. It's all wetlands and hills. You couldn't build there. So, and then once you get past some of the, you're back on New England Power Company land.
So, as I have learned, Larry and Mr. Salvo, what you think can't be built on, can be built on. And you understand where on another note where it comes from. But I'm just getting all this out so that we have basically discovery for the board is what can be and what can't be. So it probably will never happen to anything you build up, because I believe there's a 70-foot fall off at the end of.
That's why I said at some
Yeah.
point it becomes physically impossible, you know, but, I mean, hey, I don't know if that was the thought that was in place at the time when this road ended back here, but, you know, just like they extended the road to get to this lot, we're extending it to get to this lot. If someone did need to extend the road and something did change, if someone went to the legislature and the town, for some reason, sold their land and Article 97 status was reversed and someone was able to build upon it, you know, then they'd be back before the board for the same process, and
Gotcha.
they'd be extending the mains just like we extended the mains and the road. But I just think it would be a mistake to add a whole bunch of pavement for no real reason.
The grade at the point of ending, does it roll downhill the opposite way? Does it help with the water flow on Boulder
Here,
Road?
it's pretty flat all the way to here.
It is.
And then it starts to take off down this way. But yeah, this area in here is all pretty flat.
There's a resident that wants to speak.
Sir,
If I may, Ed Saley from 52 Boulder Road. Does the town
would you
of
come up to,
Saugus-
would you
Just-
come, I
just
haven't
so
opened
people
up
at
to the
home can
public,
hear
but
you
if you
so
will,
the
the
mic-
engineer's here.
Prefer not to.
Sorry.
I have to apologize for my attire. I just had surgery last week.
Oh,
Nobody's
sorry to hear
judging.
that.
So, my concern is the town of Saugus should have that extension as a paper road going from Boulder all the way over to Valley Street. Is that not true? And
It's
then
not-
at the
it's
end
not
of,
shown on this plan.
Yeah, it keeps on going, if that's what you're saying.
there is a paper road that continues all the way over up into the corner of Valley Street.
Okay.
So that it is a paper road logged in Saugus. And then the other
So is
point,
Boulder Road an accepted road by the town?
oh, I don't know that.
It's
You
not-
you
it's not
would know.
according to the
It's
clerk's
not, so
office.
I understand
Okay.
where you're coming from.
But then on the other side of 54 Boulder Road is posted land by a gentleman that currently lives in Florida that abuts the power lines. That would be the continuation back up to Valley Street. So there is a private owner on the opposite side of 54. There's posted land,
You're saying that there is another developable.
exactly, that I
lot
know other
behind
people
there?
have been trying to pursue that piece of property.
Are you talking across Boulder Road from? Or-
No, if you go continue down Boulder Road towards the power line, you will come across trees with posted signs with the wire mesh over it with their phone number on it. That is privately owned land.
It's right here. The only private lot is quite a bit ways down.
Yeah, that's down the end of that, you gotta go down that cliff.
This
So
is-
you'd never be able to build the road, I mean, I don't think that,
Well, they're looking at coming in from Valley as well. If you notice, those
They
two
could come in-
pieces of property were recently attempted to be sold to come in from the other way to complete the loop as well.
you could potentially get there from Valley, but to get from Boulder, you'd have to get down a 70-foot slope, and you can't do that.
And like you said, I
In
mean,
a 50-foot right of way. or
they're
40-foot
building
right-of-way.
everywhere these
Yeah.
days. So it's not without reason that it cannot be done.
Well, it can't be done from Boulder Road, that I can say for certain. Could be done from Valley.
You know, the right amount of
The
money.
rides would be much more than what the town could accept within that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the town has a maximum roadway rate of 9%.
Yeah.
That's a cliff for like 70, you just couldn't physically do it.
But he does have another access in there.
But it could be built from the bottom on Valley Street. yeah.
I just don't want their water to flood his lot.
No, it's not going that way, it's
No,
going the other way.
We don't have it on here, so I don't know.
That
Yeah,
that was
the
the
condos
other
are
point.
all
If the
done.
water goes the other way, I don't know if anybody from the DPW is here and has dealt with King Street at all this year. And the ice that's coming out of the back hill, the DPW has been up salting that street every time it freezes over. It's on a daily basis. My son has special needs, the bus has to get up. We're constantly calling the DPW. Are you from the DPW? No. Okay,
This is the town engineer, yeah.
okay, but you should see on record all the time.
No, I had the same thing where I am.
Okay,
From-
but this,
from a past
this is
subdivision.
all water coming from, like, the backside of the power lines down the hill. You're not gonna stop it. I don't know how many years of, records you need, but as we know, years and years go by, more water. I mean, it doesn't rain anymore. I'm losing my voice. If I may, the other issue I guess I would have, from my point of view, is the transition from my property to the new current roadway. I don't know what the transition's gonna look like, because right now it's somewhat natural. And then if I end up with an asphalt lip, how is the grade of my property gonna retrofit this asphalt lip?
There'll be no lip, it'll match the actual pavement.
Do you have a sidewalk in front of your property?
Nothing. It's all natural woods.
As is theirs. Right now, it's all
Right, but
natural.
there's no, from my driveway to half my land, there's no roadway.
So like what they're proposing here, to only bring it up halfway and then leave the
My
rest
roadway
natural?
goes to my house. My land continues further down towards 54, probably,
Well, that would be up to the applicant to pick it up from where it ends to the point of where they're ending on their.
right, but is a retaining wall built? How's my land gonna transfer to the roadway? Is it gonna be a drop off?
Yeah, there's really no change in grade there. I mean, we're
But it's so
matching the
uneven
grade.
now.
Right, but it'll be smoothed up, but we're keeping basically the same grade,
So will the asphalt from where they're picking it, will go right to his property and come all the way up? They're not gonna wait
No,
and
it's all
then
staying,
pick it up?
yeah, it's all staying in the right of way, so there'll be.
Well, they're
you know,
gonna have to,
We have a 24-foot wide road, we have a 40-foot wide right of way. So that remaining 16 feet, 8 feet on each side will stay grass and natural.
but I think my land is higher than what the
That's right. and
road
it-
is going to be.
It'll roll down in that 8 feet just like it does now.
So where my stake is,
It won't change.
won't change, it's
It
gonna roll
levels out.
towards the road.
Yeah.
It levels out towards where the
Does it
road's
need to be
coming
a
in.
5-foot sidewalk?
We
I don't
propose
think they
no
have any
sidewalk on
sidewalks.
this.
They don't-
'cause
I
it's
don't think they
not
have
going-
any
There's no sidewalk there.
No
to
sidewalks
connect
in
to
the-
it. That's right, yeah. Like I said, I think the goal was to minimize the amount of pavement, given the area, but still respect public safety and meet some of the town standards. So that was the goal. So, I mean, this is really gonna be the same situation when the road was extended to provide for his house. We're doing the same thing. So the same scenario happened for his neighbor back in whenever it was, the 80s and 90s, whenever that road was extended. Same thing. The difference being is this process wasn't gone through when that roadway extension was done. So there were no stormwater controls put in. There was just a couple of 100 feet of pavement added, right? There was no curbing added. All that was done is the water was extended up, the sewer was extended up, and the house was built. So this scenario is a little bit different, because we're going through a process now, which is why we go through these processes. So we make sure that there's stormwater controls that are put in place. We make sure that the grading is
Which will
rectified.
protect all the neighbors,
Correct.
as well as the people down below.
Well, my neighbor actually is here from when they did put my house in, and I hear the stories all the time of what a disaster it was.
Yeah, 'cause
Between,
I think it was
between
done
all
with no
the,
control, no oversight,
between all the
right?
blasting and whatnot that disrupted everything in the neighborhood.
Well, like Mr. Salvo just said, there's so many more rules and regs in place now and more oversight, and, fortunately for
mistakes-
you, unfortunately for you.
Mistakes happen. You know where we live, 54 Boulder. We hear the Wakefield Voke blasting all the time. The house shakes from the Voke. So if it's gonna be
That close,
20 feet out my front door, I think I'm gonna feel that too.
yeah.
Well, that's why they do a
They'll do-
pre-blast survey. They're
Did-
responsible for any type of damage that happens, providing that you let them in to do the survey,
Oh, they're welcome.
and you call It's as soon as you notice it.
Yeah.
And that's if we have to blast.
This is
it.
Saugus,
That's
I
the
hate
last
to say
resort
it.
for us.
That's
There's
if
more
you have to
blasting in
blast.
this
Can
town
you-
than any
can
town
you,
around, trust me.
What's the word I'm looking for, not drill, but, jackhammer, you know, when they break up the rock, what is it?
Yeah, I mean, that would,
Yeah.
that would be the
That was
goal.
rock busters.
First and foremost would be just to try to get out the pneumatic hammer.
You know, I don't know
Blasting's
which one's worse, to
expensive
be
as much
truthfully
as it's
honest
a
with
Yeah,
nuisance,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
so.
I know, I've
They
seen
don't
both.
wanna do it any more than the neighbors would
Right.
prefer not to have it.
Right,
so.
and you have a new built-in pool,
I just had it refinished.
so, you know, you'll have to take documentation and
Oh,
all that if
absolutely.
something
Yeah, I
goes
mean, they're
wrong,
welcome
you'll
to
have
take videos,
take-
pictures, whatever needs to be
And
done.
that will be done.
Yeah,
That's why that
That,
process.
before a blasting permit is issued, that would be
Okay.
done.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
and
Hopefully
I think one of my
just-
last concerns would be the water supply. My house being the last house on the street with the hydrant, I have black stuff coming out of my drinking water. You know, I filter it, we don't drink the water. I don't know if the DPW is supposed to flush the hydrants every now and then, being a dead
They
zone,
should.
but I thought there was some type of regulation
They do.
for
go
new
around and
builds
flush them.
for complete circulation, so that there are no end.
They look for that where it's possible.
Yeah, there's no place to loop to.
So
If
it's
there's
not,
no
it's
place
not
to-
mandatory.
It's, at this present time, in the condition that they had, it's almost impossible to do.
So this isn't gonna help my
So I have
condition.
the same thing that you're going through.
I didn't know if any new construction mandated that.
If it's within reason, they do, don't they?
Yeah, if there was a loop anywhere nearby.
If they
for
could
us to
loop
get to,
onto it,
We would be.
Which would help with yacht pressure, which would help with clearing. I lived on an end of a dead-end line, just like you're saying. I know what you're going through. There's nothing.
Can I get a frequent schedule that the DPW flushes every 2 years, something that,
We'll refer
Will
that
help
to
the condition?
Town engineer.
You sent me an email,
exactly?
and I was gonna respond, but I showed it to the DPW director. He told me that they deal with operation and maintenance of the water system, so I forwarded the email to the DPW director.
Okay.
I suggest you call the DPW or send the DPW director an email and ask them to flush it
Okay.
for you.
I mean, they're up there, they're flushing the sewers, but they're not dealing with the water supply.
So if you're having issues with your water, where you're having, you know, discoloration or something like that, always call the DPW and ask them to come out, and they'll come out and they'll test it and they do all that, and if it needs to be flushed, then they'll flush it.
Okay.
But they do have scheduled flushings, but if you're having an issue, always call, and if you can't reach somebody at the DPW, call the town manager's
Yeah,
office.
it's almost like the toilets even have like almost like a black mold
Iron, yeah.
Yeah,
on the inside.
It's likely iron and manganese, you know, you're at the dead end, you know, just.
Not something you wanna be drinking.
The iron and manganese aren't health hazards, they're more aesthetic.
Yeah, I haven't personally had the water tested yet myself, it's something I plan on doing, but I don't know how long it's gonna take me to get results.
I think, you know, take the advice, call the DPW and, you know, the advice the vice chair gave you.
They're pretty
is-
responsive when you call.
Yeah,
And-
no, the
and by extending-
DPW's great.
And by
Yeah.
extending the main, it'll push the stagnant water that's in the main further down, it'll actually improve your situation.
Right, but it's gonna pass it on to them,
That's right.
Well, they'll be calling for a flush now and then.
right?
yeah, if you have any issues like that, call the DPW.
Okay.
They're there to help,
They are.
Perfect.
They are.
and they're good, so.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hope you feel better.
Good luck with recovery. This is a public hearing, if anyone else would like to speak. Anyone from that area would like to speak for or against? Hearing none? What is the wish of the board?
Larry or something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's some specific items that I'd like to cover in the engineering report, mostly my recommendations, if the board would.
Yeah,
entertain
yes,
doing
if
that.
there's any question.
You know, I think with regard to the Boulder Road extension, you know, the applicant has not asked for that for the town to take ownership. So essentially, it's a private way. The stormwater infiltration system structures in Boulder Way, I think, I thank you, Mr. Salvo, I asked him to make this presentation, make it clear, and I think based on his memo and the reduction of flows, my recommendation is to accept the stormwater system. The drainage report, I did give, one of my emails this week, I gave him some minor drawing comments, so just minor, so I think, that will, I'm sure those can be addressed, and I asked him to redo the drainage report, which I think is, it was pretty easy to
Yep,
update that.
no, we did that.
Let's see. I do talk about the operation and maintenance plan, and I recommendation acceptance of the operation and maintenance plan, and in the engineer's report, I pull out some of the key items. It's gonna be work, it's quite, but, sediments must be removed 4 times a year, per year whenever the depth of deposit greater than equal to half the depth. So it's very specific, and that's good. One of the things that came up at the December 7th meeting was a talk of planting some additional trees. And I went up there and did a site inspection on December 18th. And what I observed is the only trees that I saw cut were in the roadway extension. The trees weren't cut by the current owner. I'm not sure who cut the trees, but they're where the roadway, Boulder Roadway extension is gonna be. So they're gonna have to, if with approval from the board, of course, they're gonna get cut anyway. And so trees were not cut on the Saugus conservation property. So I think my recommendation is there's no need to plant trees there, and then, and I said just say like some minor plan change comments, and I'm okay with everything as proposed.
Who was proposing to plant additional trees?
There were a lot more neighbors here.
I think Chris Riley had made the comment, if I remember correctly, at the last time.
About someone cutting trees down.
No, well, there was that, but Chris had made the comment for Larry to take a look at it and see if there was an
Okay.
opportunity to plant more trees.
We were gonna coordinate a site walk, but when I went up there and saw that, it's trees that are in the right of way, and they were cut 2 or 3 years ago, based on the stump growth, and so they were only cut on the right of way, they weren't cut on the Saugus Conservation Commission property.
Neighbors have anything to comment on that? No,
Has that been surveyed, the conservation land?
I'm sure. What do you mean, behind there? Not this lot, but beyond this lot, are you
This lot was
saying?
surveyed, the right-of-way was surveyed, we didn't survey the Conservation
Why
Commission.
won't you survey the conservation land?
It'd be up to conservation.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not our
They
land.
don't have a problem.
Yeah, we
The
didn't-
conservation hasn't reported any problem of any doings of that.
I think the other neighbors that were here last time had said that the people that owned the land before the new people bought it, he had cut down trees on, they're the people that live below that were talking about the water problem.
Right.
Yeah, we thought that we thought
That
the trees
that
were
trees
on
cut
someone's
on
property that
conservation
got cut
land.
down.
Not by them, but by.
No, right, but
the person
it
they
turns
bought
out
the
that,
property from.
based on the survey that's been done, that those tree stumps are in the existing right of way.
Okay.
So
They
we have no control over
I think
that.
that was when maybe they started to have more of a water problem down below when the trees were cut.
Oh, yeah, so
But
that's,
that's what their concern was, that maybe he had cut trees on the conservation land.
makes sense.
Mr. Durkin, you have anything else?
No, that's it.
So you're completely
One other thing is at some point they're gonna have to do a fire flow test.
Yeah, they'll have to do that for the fire sprinkler system anyways, the mechanical engineer will need to do
Talked
that.
about earlier.
Here's your building permit phase type,
Yep.
Okay.
Does the board have any more questions?
I do not.
Mr. Long?
Yeah, the extension, the roadway extension says, I mean, that's a right of way
correct.
which anyone can travel
Yep.
in the town, because I have one on the backside of my property. That, extension, even though it's 40 feet wide, you're only gonna do so many feet. The downhill side of that, is there going to be a lot of filling on the?
No.
I was up there today, this afternoon, and I went to the end of the road. In fact, I went on to your property to turn around. And, you know, there's still a lot of trees there, a lot of vegetation stuff. But it looks like there's a dip in the roadway on the south side of where you wanna put that driveway.
You can see so way down the very end, there's a little bit of fill that goes in down here, which you can see in the profile. The existing grade is here, the proposed grade is here, and then we meet it. But by and large, through most of the road, even though it's, you know, kind of broken up and you know, it's pretty easy when you stay on the end of the road to visualize where the road is going. And it just turns out that the grades that exist out there, although they're undulating, it was a reasonable slope. It was an 8% slope coming up, just continuing that grade. It was only a 4% slope on the backside, so it was a decent grade that allowed us to keep the roadway basically right at the contour of the
You have
land.
to bring in fill
I don't think
on that
so.
roadway.
I don't think
On
so.
the downhill side, there's no
Even on the downhill side,
erosion or anything of that nature.
whatever we excavate out for the pavement section here, right? Because you don't just pave right on top of the stuff that's there. You excavate down, you know, for an 1.5-inch top course, a 2-inch binder course, and a 12-inch gravel base. So those spoils will be placed here. So there'll be nothing that have to go off site or nothing that will have to come on site, except for the processed material that we have to purchase.
Is there gonna be any kind of protection for vehicles, like on, you know, you're gonna have a guardrail or anything if that's so?
Yeah, where the roadway slopes, where the grade slopes away from the roadway, we'll have guardrail in that section. And then at some point, it flattens out up in here, so there's no guardrail in here, but there is guardrail here where there's some grade off the edge.
So from the adjoining property, you're gonna bring the guardrail up
Correct.
to the end of your extension?
Not to the end of the extension, but up to where it flattens out up there where there's no need for guardrail.
And this talk, I mean, this is relative, I'm just getting into this, you know, all these,
Welcome back.
yeah, thank you. It was a lot simpler before. Where is the blasting that's going to occur? That lot seems rather level.
Yeah, so that was the point I was making. So the line and grade of the roadway and the house, we're not anticipating any blasting. When we excavate down for the sewer, that's where there might be the potential for it.
Okay.
We don't know that I can't look at this site and know there's gonna be blast. Some sites you look at and you know there's a 100% chance you have to blast. We may not have to blast here, but if we do have to blast, it'll be a trench blast, for probably the sewer. I'm gonna guess maybe not even the water.
Sir,
And just talking to other home builders in the area, it's blue granite. You can't chip it. It's gotta be blasted. So I don't know who's telling who what, but if you just look at the exposed rock that's there,
It's all granite?
you can see
Yeah,
blue granite.
I think Lynn White said
so
that.
there's a couple of ways that they can do blasting. They could do what they call fracturing,
Yeah,
and
You drill it and split it.
whatever it has to be.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've been talking to Ed White, who's built, I don't know how many hundreds of homes in the area. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with him.
yes,
He passed on it because of the blue granite.
There's no
His
way to
sister
loop
was
that
here
water
last
system?
time talking about that.
No way at all?
To what?
Loop the water system?
No, there's nowhere to loop to.
Because you're gonna be.
There's a whole, this land all here is owned by the Conservation Commission on both sides, most of the way down till you get to the
Down
intersecting
below, yeah.
Paper Street. Then there's like a 70-foot drop to get down to the other paper streets. There's just no infrastructure up there to do it.
Why do you say he's gonna regret it?
We had a dead-end line at the end of my street, Bennett Avenue over here and off the Fellsway, and going towards the brook, and the water got foul, it backed up. And as far as the town, I don't know whether it was manpower or what at that time, they were supposed to come in and, you know, and open it up, flush the line, so to speak. finally, they looped it onto, on a side street, breakout. So the water quality improved tremendously for the houses down the end of the street. I'm not crazy about that dead end pipes, that's all. It's just
From what I've been told, my previous homeowner was doing it himself, opening the hydrants to cleanse his water.
And so we've been there 7 years and they've never been flushed since we've been there.
Well, we suggested,
Don't
as
see
we
them
said,
do that. I mean, I got a hydrant right across the street from my house, and I don't think they've been there in several years.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is I don't like relying on things that are supposed to happen,
I agree.
that don't happen.
Well, it's nice when you can loop it, that it happens automatically. I couldn't agree with you more. Unfortunately, there's
But
just,
you
you
say
need
it's
something.
impossible to do
Yeah, there's
that.
nothing to loop it to.
I can show you a map of where, I'm not sure where there is town water, but you'd have to go all the way down towards Edge Hill Road or St. James Road.
No, that's all right, Larry, I trust, it's just,
Yeah.
you say
More
there's no
blasting,
way.
more
It's
chipping.
thousands of feet.
Yeah, if you look at the GIS, you'll see there's a whole lot of
It's
nothing
thousands of
around.
feet.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an exact distance, but I
they
can,
would have to drop it down the line down below.
and like Mrs. Savo said, the slopes on the paper road portion of Boulder are extreme. And it, you know, and there are private below, and even South Street is a paper road, that's not built out, but, you know, there's private lots, so South Street could get built out.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board members? What is the wish, oh, Larry?
I think I've given Mr. Salvo some minor comments, and he's updating the drainage report. I was scheduled to meet with the DPW today, that didn't happen, and so I think, you know, I think Mr. Salvo's memo, which he emailed to me on the 30th, and I have, you know, out of courtesy of the DPW director, I'd like to, you know, brief him on this, and he's finalizing the drainage report, and there's minor comments to finalize the plans. So that's just where I'm at with things, so, for your information.
So we need some more, we need additional information and clarification.
It's been provided, I think he just,
We only just provided it, though, in fairness to Mr. Dirk, we
So
provided
we
it.
didn't get it, the board hasn't even seen that then.
Yeah, it was all in report form. I emailed it out
Yeah.
after we got his comments.
yeah, and I haven't forwarded it. This is the letter that he talked about today, and,
It's just about the drainage calculations and
That's it.
stormwater management and stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I said in the email, I know the board likes to have everything a week ahead of time. We got it, we replied a day later. So we fully expected that this would probably go to your next meeting, so he can have a chance to get with DPW, and we're really hopeful that we can wrap things up at the next meeting. We've been at
So
this
you
for a
you
while.
would actually give us an extension for
We
another
could give you
meeting?
Well, we have
extension, yeah,
one more
but
week anyway,
We have
time to
another
act
week,
is one
well,
more week.
we have a week.
I think we, and
So
we
the
gave you
sev-
to the end, I thought we gave you the end of February, didn't we?
7th or something, isn't it?
But yeah,
I mean,
I might
there's been a
have,
drastic change since day one.
what's that?
There's been a drastic change to the plan since day one.
Yeah,
For the better of
it's
all
been made
the
better,
neighbors.
yes, there's no
February
question.
9th, yeah,
Yeah.
so what is our next meeting? Is that February 9th, our next meeting?
No,
Probably
15th.
It's 15th?
2 weeks.
So it says time to act is February 9th, so you'd have to
So I'll,
say-
I'll,
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
I'll extend to the end of February, and then, like I said, I think when we were at our last meeting, I thought there was some talk about some potential draft conditions. I don't know if that's happened yet, but if we could.
Mr. Riley's not here, so,
are
we
we putting
can,
any streetlights?
we-
No,
There are no streetlights being?
no streetlights further down, so,
And-
no.
You're feeling on no streetlights? Are there any lights up on that street at all?
Yeah, just one in front of my driveway.
One right in front of your driveway?
Yeah.
so that's what we have. So, Mr. Durkin, if we were to give this, till our next meeting, you'll have met with the DPW director, because if you don't,
We have a common supervisor, and I think he can help make that happen, if needed, and,
okay.
so, I was prepared today, and I suppose prepared last week.
I know you are, and you're doing a good job, and thank you for sitting with Mr. Salvo and working on a good drainage plan that seems like a better drainage plan for the neighbors and everybody that lives there, so I appreciate that
All the way, yeah.
from all of you. So we're looking to continue this, you're looking for a motion to continue
looking
this
for a
to the
motion to
February
continue.
15th?
Yep.
You'll send
And,
something
yep,
over
wait.
to Nancy?
Yep, send it in the morning, and like I said, hopefully we can close this out on the next meeting would be our hope.
So there is a motion before us for continuance.
Second that.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Question. Comments from Larry, they're incorporated into the plan, right? Before we send,
What is that one?
Yeah, his conditions will, what he recommends,
That
we'll
was-
put into the,
They're gonna
his
be-
conditions.
Those will be
referenced on the
written-
plan.
Yeah,
Right. Those clean outs, all that stuff will be part of the federal process. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
all right, what do we have next?
Up next, we have an informal discussion on as-built for River Circle definitive subdivision. They're representing the applicant is Doc Black. Have a good night now, thank you. Thank you.
Hello, is everyone ready? My name's Brandon Nolan from Audi and Dwyer, PLS at Audi and Dwyer, 59 Appleton Street here in Saugus. I prepared the as-built for Rivercrest Circle, and I can answer any questions you have on the plan.
I'm like the end of the chain.
Yeah, I didn't, did you get these plans?
I've never seen this plan.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. David told me you had copies, so I'm not sure what happened there, but.
Do you?
He's provided it to me.
Okay.
I was down there on other town business and I talked to David, and David had.
You have done the inspection,
No, David just got me the definitive subdivision set, so that's what I need to check against the as-built. So I just got that recently, and I wanted this matter to come to the planning board before, I print those or look at them and then compare them and then go out and do a field inspection.
Okay, so after you do the field inspection, then we'll put you on the agenda and you'll present the as-bills to us, and then I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know anything about this, so I didn't know what we're doing.
so we should have received the plan as drawn here, for comment from the board members.
I can
I believe you said that this subdivision was basically complete except for one lot.
Correct.
Yes, yeah, this.
But the
this still
sidewalk,
middle
the
lot is
driveway, and all
empty.
that is done.
Yep.
Yeah.
The driveway
It looks
is there.
nice.
You've done
I had
all
I
inspections?
used to be responsible for sidewalks, and just to the plan left, the sidewalk slopes. It's 5 feet wide, but in 5 feet across, it drops more than 5 inches. So I got a complaint from one of the residents, and so, and he told me the developer did an excellent job. I think they did more than was required. There's handicap ramps. So what I'll do is I'll go out there with a definitive set of subdivision plans. I'll go up out the as-built, and this is new to me. This is the first time this has come up since I've been in the town. So, I'm looking for direction from the planning board on,
Well, the only issue that was outstanding that we had is, we called the applicant in for renewal long before he finished
Right.
to upgrade the permit. Is that not correct, Nancy?
Right.
And we've never heard back from the applicant.
Okay. I don't know if Mr. Burke wants to speak to that, or?
Yes, I'm the applicant.
The applicant's
Mr.
here.
And I didn't receive anything, or I either that or I overlooked it as far as it being renewed, so that's all I can tell you.
So your permit expired before you actually completed this. I don't know, the procedure. Because you just before winter, you completed the roads and sidewalks, I believe,
Yeah,
in the fall,
summertime.
summertime.
Yeah, when did I do?
Right.
So the as-built was done August 14th. So that's when all this was
Right.
Was
So the
located.
as-built
Yeah.
was done August 14th.
Yeah.
So it was done before
months
that.
No,
before
again,
that.
and we're just trying to put it all together.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we asked all the subdivision applicants to come in for renewal and let us know where they're at, we didn't see anybody.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
so Larry, you need some time to, how long do you think this will take you to?
You know, it's just, you know, it's probably at least a half a day's worth of effort, so I think, the good news is, you know, a lot of the planning board projects have been wrapping up, so I might have a little more time.
Don't jinx us, please.
I'm not trying to jinx you. I'm not, you know, I feel your pain. So I think, you know, safely, I'm gonna say safely by the end of the month, and I'd like to exceed that by 2 weeks, but you know, I don't know what's, gonna blow up in my world and.
So who's maintaining the driveway and the lots, and you're still doing the plowing?
I mean, so what is the procedure for me to get it accepted by the city?
So, this is your first step.
Yeah.
Town,
Yeah.
except,
Thank you.
that's the first step.
So, the first step is for review by the engineer.
Yeah,
He'll go out and certify that what you have built is what is existing. We have a documented plan by a licensed surveying engineer, so that's the start. Mr. Durkin will take the next step. You come back before the board for a review. Then I believe it goes to town council to get cleared, and then it will go before town meeting. But there's a K form, I believe, that has to be filled out in the process. So, and do we have a K form? We don't have a K form yet. Started for this property, Nancy?
No, it has to be approved by the board first.
Okay,
Approved and then.
so once it's approved by the board, then you'll receive it, and then you'll take it to the next 2 steps.
how about as far as renewal? Are we gonna have to go through the renewal, or are we just?
That,
gonna get it
that I
approved?
would have to check with town council to be sure on.
Mhm.
I don't know what's gonna happen, I don't know what the renewal fee would be, I have no idea. We've had a grace period there, where we gave everyone 6 months a year ago.
Mhm.
And we've gone almost past the 6 months. So I would say that I would seek renewal, where you still have an open lot,
Yeah,
and then you could probably push this through a little faster.
Mr. Chair, that's what I was just gonna ask, if he still has an open lot, wouldn't you wait to close it out until the project is
I
complete?
have
Why
questioned
would
this
we-
into town council.
Okay.
Yeah. He's completed,
Seems like, wouldn't you be looking for an extension till you complete that last lot and then present the as-bills and close it out?
you would need a
no,
permit.
because if the road is accepted, why, you know, once it's accepted by the
But will they
city,
accept it
I-
without
it's
it being
just like
complete?
going to pull a building permit, I wouldn't have to come back in front of you for anything again, right?
I don't know about that.
That's what the question we have into
You know what I
town.
mean?
Right.
No, I understand it.
You know, that's.
It makes sense what
I
you're
mean-
saying,
I
but
mean, what if I don't build on it for 10 years, you know what I mean? I kind of want it accepted by the city. Right now, you've got $30,000 of mine that I've already put out to pay for the road. So I'm kind of looking to get my money back too.
I
mean, I
thought,
have 30,000 in a savings account.
okay.
I didn't think you could close it out until it was all done, like the,
If the roadway is all done and approved, then it just becomes a buildable lot. You would have to go back for another permit.
Right,
You would
which
then have
would
to
be
put
like
a bond up
applying.
for the protection of the street, that's
Yeah.
where I believe it works.
okay.
So if you, when you go to build that, they may require a bond for the sidewalk, they may require a bond for the street because it is completed. The town basically owns it now. So this needs a little bit of clarification from legal counsel, which John Vassapol will get to us pretty quickly. But not being completed at this time, I would look into, and I'll have Nancy make a phone call tomorrow, and find out if a renewal of your subdivision is required.
Right.
Because basically it's not complete. Your road is, in your estimation, is done, sidewalks are done, but not in the eyes of the town, so.
Right, right.
So, we would need some clarification, from town council. If they accept it and they're holding the lot, which they do in some cases,
You know, I've already had the lot is actually released.
you have a release
I
of
had,
it.
they were released, all the lots were released, because I have a savings account
Account.
to cover that expense.
I got you.
So the
But
lots
this, we
were
don't know,
released
this, how long ago did you start that?
12 years ago, probably.
Okay,
For a
so
while.
this board was not in existence?
Right, right.
And that
yep.
information has not been provided to us?
Mhm.
You would have told us that had you come back in when she sent the request up?
Say that again?
We would have known this information that you're now just disclosing to us,
Yep,
had you come into the meeting when she sent out the letter. So, I think that's what we need to do. So there's a little bit of legwork, a little bit of attorney decision, and we can get this all clarified. And I'd like to see a copy. If Larry's got it, that's fine.
I can email it to you all and Nancy and Chris.
Well, we'd like to have a full copy so that Nancy can file it as a completion. If we decide to complete this, then it's on record.
I have a printed paper, I just.
I could make copies, I mean,
Yeah, you're close by.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
ran out of paper.
That's no
Paper on the
problem. Yeah.
plotter. I gotta order
I can
some
take
more.
care of
Here's
that.
what,
Has the town accepted the street? I mean,
the town, the town won't even look at it until we make a decision on
right,
it.
so town meeting hasn't voted
They
to
have not
accept
accepted
it,
it, and they're not plowing it
so
at
they
this
still
time.
own it, they can be
He's-
maintaining it.
That, she's still maintaining it.
Okay.
But we would have known all this had these applicants come in when we requested them back in July.
Right.
So it probably would have helped him had he come in. He would have known where he stood and probably could have got it. I mean, it's a nice development. I've been through it a million times, so.
It is nice.
Well,
They do a good job, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice work.
as you know, we're always looking to have streets accepted because we get more chapter 90 money from the state,
That's
depending on
correct.
the mileage
You're right.
that we have.
So it's better for everyone to have it documented, completed, and you don't have to get up and plow anymore.
believe me, I know, not fun.
So I
Alright.
think that's the way we should go at this point.
Makes sense to me, yeah.
Does the board have any other questions? You don't need a motion, it's an informal.
How many copies would you need? 'Cause I
7.
can- 7? Okay.
7 copies? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do that in the morning when I get in. Yeah,
My place.
sure thing. Yep,
Excellent.
you got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So will this be, once we get things, if we get things straightened out in the next couple of days, we'll just get in front of the board then?
It'll come back before the board, and we'll,
Yep.
Should have all the
Nancy will reach out
information
to
we
you.
it
need.
gives him time
Right, you
to
know.
check the water flow, to check everything that's needed with the DPW. Gives us time to review the plan.
Yeah, yeah,
He can put his blessing on it.
yeah. The water system does have a loop. I went from Victoria Street up to Winter Street, so there's no problem there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am taking some vacations, school vacation week, so I'm taking most of that off, so. But I can control my schedule, I can't control the DPW schedule, so.
Yep.
I've got a question, do you mind?
Sure.
I'm just catching up a lot. Using sewer pumps down at those houses down below because of the elevation up to Winter Street?
Oh, no, the main sewer line is 20 feet down.
Oh, it is?
It's an easement through the property, so the main line is 20 feet down.
Okay.
I can
good
show
for
you
you.
that. There's a sewer line kind of running across. There's an existing easement there.
Oh, good. I
So,
hate
yeah.
those pumps.
They didn't have to go too far.
No problem there.
No, I drove down there today.
Mhm.
I was just
Yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we filled a lot
I was
of
gonna
that in.
borrow his Mustang, but he wasn't home.
Mhm.
You did a lot of driving today, Bob.
I did.
All over
I
the
love
place.
driving around this town. Drives my wife crazy, but I like it.
No sisters today?
Huh?
You didn't take the sisters with you?
Oh, come on, that's as close if I leave town to help.
You're gonna watch this, be careful how you answer that.
Jesus. You cursed me.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn before you get into trouble.
Can I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.